Welcome to video number 9, and we're going to talk about blogging platforms. So congratulations, you've reached the end of this video course, and now it's time to talk about blogging platforms. We're going to talk about two things, WordPress or Blogger. And the reason why I want to talk about Blogger is because I know many of you might have the temptation to use Blogger, and Blogger is great. And you can use both, but I recommend the WordPress being your actual blog. And of course, if you want to use Blogger, you can use it to kind of bump the rank up of your WordPress site. So let me explain. Blogger is owned by Google. It's also known as blogspot.com or blogger.com. If you go to either or site, you will go to the same site. This is owned by Google, and it is able to rank super fast. In fact, you'll notice that many self-made authority figures in different niches like you are using blogger.com. And if you notice, they rank really, really fast in the internet. Now, here's the downside of Blogger or blogspot.com is you don't own it. So this means if you get banned for whatever reason, you lose your asset, right? Now, that's where WordPress comes in. Ultimately, you need to have your own asset, especially if you're building a business surrounding this. This is a serious thing. So that's why we recommend WordPress. And you need to buy your own domain. You need to buy your own web hosting. And usually, typically, most web hosting companies have WordPress. So you can simply log into the panel or even ask them to install it for you, and they will install it, and you're good to go. So I'm going to explain a little bit more depth about WordPress. How do you find a domain? How do you go about finding web hosting? What web hosting companies we recommend? And how do you create your blog? How do you find themes? And we'll cover all of that in just a second. Okay, so in order for you to get this to work, you need to have a domain name because you need to have your own brand, essentially. So what you need to do is you need to head on over to a site called Namecheap.com. And what Namecheap is a domain registrar, which is where you can buy your domains. So you can go here, and if the domain is available, you can actually get access to it. So if we say something like lower cholesterol, and I'm pretty sure lower cholesterol is taken, but we'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we can see whether or not it is available. And I'm pretty sure it is just because put some numbers in it, but I don't recommend you do that. I just recommend you find whatever domain that is great for you, and then of course add it to your cart, buy it, and you're good to go. So you pretty much have completed the domain part. Now you have to get web hosting. So essentially the way it works is this. If we go back over here, you need two things. You need a domain name, which is kind of like an address, and then of course you need to have web hosting. So if you think about it, a house or apartment, you always have an address, right? And of course the address points to a house. And then a house actually has furniture in it, and you can change the outlook of it, the design of it, and all that. That's basically what web hosting is all about. So what you need to do now is you need to find a web hosting company that specializes in WordPress, because you're going to be using WordPress. Now, just keep in mind that WordPress is a very intensive type software. So as you grow your WordPress site, it utilizes a lot of RAM, a lot of server processing speed as it grows. So that's just something to keep in mind. So what I recommend that you do, you can either go to Google and you type in top WordPress hosting companies and go from there, or you can specifically use the ones that I'm about to talk to you about. There's one site called knownhost.com. We've used them. They have one of the best customer supports as of now, and they're very, very fast. The one good thing about web hosting companies is, as far as trying to figure out whether or not they are good or not, is to figure out how fast their support really is. if you email them, and you might want to test it out, if you contact them and they take hours and hours to get back to you, move on to the next place, because that's a good sign to figure out whether or not, that's a good hosting company. But we've tested this particular host and we found that they're really good. So what you want to do is you can head on over to here, and what you're looking for with WordPress type web hosting is SSD. So any type of SSD is going to be really fast. So you can pick the $25 per month plan, for example, and this is going to be reliable because this is a reliable host. You always want to choose a reliable host. The next host that's good for web hosting for WordPress is a2hosting.com. And if you go here, you look for the cloud hosting, or you can look for the shared hosting. So if you click on cloud hosting, you can go through and purchase whatever you need. Typically what you can do is you can start out with the very basic plan, and then of course move up from there. So as you can see, A2 hosting uses SSD, which is what you want. If you see any hosting that is using something like HDD, which is a regular hard drive, then you might want to pass. So for example, there are a lot of web hosting companies out there. HostGator also provides WordPress hosting. I cannot recommend HostGator. Have not really had the greatest experience with them. But KnownHost.com is a great web hosting company that we have tested, and it has been tried and true. So once you've gotten your domain and your web hosting, the web hosting company will provide you with information on how to connect the two. So they will provide you with that, and if you have any problems with that, you can talk to them about that. So basically, I can tell you for a fact, KnownHost utilizes what we call cPanel. So they're going to give you access to a cPanel, which then you can log in, and of course, they will give you access to what we call Softaculous. So what you do is you click on WordPress here, and this is basically an app installer. So instead of having to go to WordPress.org and install the 5-minute installation file, which really isn't 5 minutes, by the way, it's more like maybe 10 or 15 minutes or even more, depending on your expertise. So that's why I find this route is just a lot easier, because with this Softaculous, all you have to do is simply go down, click install now, and you fill in the details, and within less than 3 steps, you have installed WordPress. So up at the top, if you scroll down, you're going to see the in-directory option. What this means is basically if you want your WordPress blog to be installed on www.yourdomain.com, if that is the case, leave this blank. If you want to install the WordPress blog in a subfolder, then that's when you can actually enter a directory here. So if this case, we can just type in test blog, you fill in your site name, your description, and then of course your admin username and password. And then of course you can choose the advanced options, and then you can actually select a theme. So that's the nice thing about this particular app installer, is you can pick one. You can actually scroll through many different themes. And the nice thing about WordPress is you can literally change the whole design with a click of a button. You don't have to redo everything or anything like that. So if I want to go with this one, I can click select and click install. And literally within less than a minute or a couple minutes, we are good to go. That's it. And of course, if we go to the actual blog itself, we can see the actual blog has been created. Now, the app installer is going to give you access to the WordPress administrator dashboard, as you can see here. And all you have to do is literally, whenever you create a post, you can go here, add new posts, and you can add new pages. You can also change the appearance by going to Appearance and Themes, So let's say, for example, we don't like this particular theme. We always can go to add new, and we can find another theme. We can click install, for example, and it's installed. We can activate it. And if you go to the live site, you can literally see that the blog design has been changed. Now, I would recommend that if you are very serious about building a long-term authority blog, that you buy a theme that actually relates to your audience. So I recommend a site. It's called themeforest.net. Themeforest.net. And if you go under WordPress, you can actually find different themes that relate to different markets. So for example, we have blog and magazine. And just because it says blog does not necessarily mean you have to use that theme. You can use a theme that is related to other different markets as well. So as you can see, it ranges about $20 to about $54 per theme. But these themes are very, very professional and can definitely make you stand out. And if somebody comes to your site, you want to make a good first impression. And if you do that, that's one side of getting people to trust you, is to make sure that your site looks professional. So that's just something to think about as well. So I'm not going to go into too much depth about how to use WordPress. That's a different course for a different day. There's many different types of video courses out there that will teach you how to utilize WordPress, how to manage the site, and all that. But best of all, WordPress is great because it's very newbie friendly. And once you understand how to use it, it's very, very fast and efficient to create posts, to create pages, to add images, and all of that.